Hi, Bridget Cook-Burch here, and I am so excited to introduce you to an extraordinary author. Her name is Tiffani Freckleton, and Tiffani is a nurse who actually took an experience at one point in time in her life and realized that there was a story there and something that could absolutely serve other people. So I cannot wait for you to hear about her book. So Tiffani, please give us the title of your book and then also what your book is about.
The title of my book is My NICU Story, Written with Love. And it's basically told through the eyes of the infant baby in the newborn ICU, which is where I am a registered nurse, and telling its parents that things are going to be okay, that what they are doing is enough, and to help bring them hope and comfort while they're in the hospital and through that difficult time.
So tender, and such an incredible, soft and nerve-wracking, full of anxiousness time for parents. So tell us what was the event or the circumstance behind why you decided to write this book?
My very first experience in a NICU, the newborn ICU, was when my nephew Reggie was born. He arrived early at 31 weeks, and he had a 10-month-old brother. And so I was able to help my brother and his wife with a lot of babysitting.
They had their hands full.
They do. They still do. The boys are only really 10 and a half months apart. The month of March, they're the same age. Right now, they're 6 and 7. And as a nurse, I had never been in the NICU before. My experience has been with adults, and the ICU is my background. And when my brother and sister-in-law would come to pick up JR, their older baby, we would ask how Reggie was doing, and their eyes would light up, and they would tell us how loved he was, how much the nurses enjoyed taking care of him. And I would expect them to be in tears, and instead they would be smiling. And as hard as it was during those months until he was strong enough to come home, they found so much comfort in their experience there. And that's what made me want to switch to the NICU, is to help families who are going through something, just hopefully make it a little easier for them.
So you, as an ICU nurse, you got to see an experience that your brother and sister-in-law were going through. And so not only have you written this book, but you actually made a career change into the NICU. Yes. Wow, that's amazing.
I started in the NICU of March 2020.
An incredible time. COVID and all of these crazy things happening.
Yes, it was right as changes started to happen. Nobody, of course, expected any of them, especially in healthcare. And I didn't expect to come in and go through those changes. And there were some hard times that we saw from that. And when you're masked and you can only see people's eyes, I would just see these moms and dads who, were going through things alone instead of with their partner by their side. Our visiting restrictions were strict during the pandemic, and so I would see them, and I would just think how hard it must be, and I would hope to be helping them.
Wow, I can see that. When we're writing, we always want to be in touch with the pain that our reader feels. And in those moments, especially that aloneness time that you would witness, is that when you decided, I'm going to write a book about this?
No, I never really planned on writing a book. I love to read. I've never been a big writer. It's kind of been a very new experience to go down this route. But my boyfriend's a singer-songwriter, and he plays music, and we write songs, and we would make up lyrics all the time that often rhymed, and I started to find myself doing it with the babies. I would just be with them, and all of a sudden I would just start rhyming with them, and I noticed that my voice was softer and calmer, and they responded to it, and it became fun to talk to them like that. And so all of a sudden it became this silly thing, and I realized it could be more than just a silly little way to help me, that maybe it could help parents as well.
And that you had you had others that could benefit from this. What did your brother think when he read your book?
Well, he hasn't read it yet.
Oh, it's going to be a surprise.
I haven't. One of my brothers has, though, and that's kind of a cool experience as well. This last March, another brother, another baby, in another NICU.
Wow.
And my brother and his wife, my middle brother, they were my first true beta readers because their baby had just been born. And I sent them my manuscript and said, try this out, see what you guys think.
Oh,
and
I'm
was
getting
able
choked
to share that with them from the beginning. And Kingston actually inspired a very specific little line that came into my book that feels very special, that I said, oh, that's why he came early. He wanted to be a part of the story.
As nerve-wracking as that is,
Yes.
that it brought you an answer.
Yes, it did. I have 6 wonderful nephews, and we have one little niece who's a couple months old now. And 4 of the boys have been NICU babies, each with a very unique, different story that has inspired.
So Tiffani, tell us, what setting or scene in the book was the most compelling for you to write, and why?
There was this really special moment and this really special baby boy. And he really gave me, I felt very special to be involved in his care. I felt very lucky. It was a funny situation where I didn't know the mom had asked me to be a primary nurse, and yet I had become a primary nurse. And I was nervous to tell her because I just loved taking care of him so much. And there was this one night after she left in the evening, he was very restless, and I'm watching him on the heart monitor, and his heart rate is just racing and alarming, and he's just kind of fidgeting and really hard to get him comfortable. And his mother would always just talk to him nonstop when she was there, and I loved that about her, and I loved that about him, and his eyes were so expressive. And as we sat there talking, I realized he just wanted to talk and he just needed to hear a voice. And so I just pulled up my chair next to him and I started talking to him. And as I'm giving him his binky and I'm talking really softly, I'm telling him, I said, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I'm writing a book. Would you like to hear it? And I started to read to him what I had so far. And as I got to this part and I was waving the binky near his mouth, his little hand grabbed my finger and just pulled it close to my chest. I just heard him almost telling me, talk to me softly, place your finger in my hand. These are things I understand. I know your voice, and I love your touch. I hope you know that it's enough. And he just melted my heart.
Wow, yeah, I would say. He melted yours, and you're going to be melting all the parents.
I think it's really important for me that I'm able to recognize and honor all types of families and parents that find their way to the NICU. Not just your nuclear mom and dad family, but there's so many different ways that you become a family and you find your way to one another. And I want every story to be honored in a very unique, special way, and to not, the NICU experience is unique to everyone, and no story is the same. And I wanted parents to be able to read that and see their baby, and to know that whether it's a mom and a dad, whether it's a non-typical family, you've adopted a baby, you're fostering a baby, you've used a surrogate, you're still the parent to that baby. And I wanted to help them find a way to bond in a way that wasn't normal.
Yeah, and brings more comfort and even joy in the process.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
I think we focus a lot on moms in the NICU. We tell them how important the kangaroo care is when you're doing skin to skin. And sometimes we forget, as the dads are supporting or doing things, that it's their baby too. And I have 3 younger brothers, and watching them growing up, I'm always cheering them on and seeing those moments. And I really wanted to give my brothers something special and to know what good fathers I think they are, and how I'm so proud of them as well in their story.
Beautiful. Like, my daughter is just a couple of months away from her third. And, you know, it's her husband who's talking to the baby, you know, it's all of those things. So I'm grateful that you're spending time with the dads as well as with the moms and have them in mind. In fact, when you've been in the NICU, have you seen, I'm sure, the dads just as worried, uptight, trying to be there, wanting to be the kangaroo care as well?
Yes, and it's so important they do. They need to know both sides. When I first started in the NICU, I had a really special experience where we had this beautiful baby who was almost 10 pounds. So she wasn't your usual NICU baby that you expect. And she was one of the first, you know, babies I met, and I was trying to help comfort her. And as her parents came in, you know, the nurse training me was trying to place an IV. So she was searching the baby's limbs, and I'm trying to comfort the baby, and the parents are just a little taken back and shy, and she encouraged them to come talk to the baby, and it took a couple tries, and finally that dad just stood up really brave, and he's like, all right. And as he walked up to the baby, I just watching him, like his eyes filled with love, and he just said, he called her by name and just said, hi baby, and she just went and she instantly calmed, but just by the sound of his familiar voice. And for her to see that from the dad, to do that for her, I had to blink back tears to know like that was such a powerful emotion that could be brought forth by just your voice. And reading and your voice, how important that is in the development of your baby in the NICU is key. And so
You're probably going to have multiple stories coming out of this. I think that's wonderful.
I've had some special things happen, and it's really helped. There's been a lot that we've gone through with it, and it's been really fun to share with the parents that I've been able to share little things with, that telling them about their babies and helping them see that even doesn't matter how early they are. Our little Reggie, they would come home and they would tell us about Reggie, and they would say, the nurses say he has a temper. And my brother would think, how can a baby have a temper? And he did. He does.
And it's just part of his little personality.
That's him. And those personalities are just there. I explained to him later that he was a hangry baby. It was really fun to teach him and his brother what the word hangry meant, and they still giggle about it all the time.
What is something you want a reader to know about this book? Something so special, so important.
I think the most special thing is focusing on your story and knowing that it's okay if it doesn't go the way you expect. It's okay if it's different than the person you see across from you, that your story is special. And I believe that while every day may not be good, there is good in every day. And sometimes you just have to look a little harder to find it. And so to not focus on that end goal of when the baby comes home, but you get these special moments. You're holding still, you're on pause, you're holding your baby, you're listening to them breathe and they hear your heartbeat. And you don't have those moments when you're home and you're jumping into the real world. And so to be able to pause and just breathe and to know that just because things didn't turn out the way you expect doesn't mean they're not going to be wonderful and special in their own way.
So Tiffani, as you know, I really love to know more about the writing process for every author. I would like to know, was there any point in the writing of this book that surprised you, that taught you something special about yourself?
Well, so much, because once again, I never planned on becoming a writer. This wasn't something I knew I wanted to do. And at first I thought, oh, I'm just gonna make it this cute little rhyming story. And I realized as it progressed and the deeper that we got into it, that there was more to why I wanted to write this story. There was more to why I wanted to help other people. And it was hard to face those moments and to think about what my reason why really was. It's easy to say it's about my brother. It's easy to say it's for my nephew. It's harder to realize what it is for me and the things that I went through. And the more I chose to share of myself in that experience and to open up and to be more vulnerable, the more it helped me heal, and the more it helped me find joy in what I went through, to say, oh, okay, this isn't just a little rhymey, story, that it was deeper than that, and to hope that that message of hope and love could be displayed, but only if I was willing to share a part of me in it. So that was hard.
And beautiful, because look what came out of it.
It's more special throughout this process, the people I have met, including you. And the story of how I came to find you is amazing. And it was in front of that same little boy that held my finger. I just asked somebody one day, do you know somebody? And she told me about you. And the people that I have met through this journey, the families, throughout writing, has just opened up this love for me to express, and hopes that I could do more for others than I thought I could.
And your fellow retreat goers who all fell in love with you. And now they're your #1 cheerleaders, which is great.
And they're some of my favorite people to have met them. As a nurse, you're always thinking about helping people, but I don't see a lot of books from nurses or through medicine. Medicine's a hard thing to share, I think, with the world because of the sensitive nature of it and the emotions it brings. You get tested physically, emotionally, mentally, and to find a way to share through stories is really been special.
Oh, that's beautiful. And what I know is that your ripple is just beginning, which is great.
Yes.
And I'd love to share too, millions of babies are born in the NICU and have parents who are beside themselves and don't know necessarily if what they're doing is enough, if they're making a difference. And then there's lots of family members and others feeling helpless, but you don't have to be helpless. You can purchase this book and give it to the parents as a special gift from the heart, from a NICU nurse who sees you and hears you and wants you to have that special connection with your child. So thank you for writing this book. From my heart, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I came up with a special phrase as I was writing it that I feel like really helps to wrap it all up. Inspired by the NICU from behind the scenes, with a little help from a nurse. And so I've come up with that saying, and inspired by NICU, and I'm just behind the scenes cheering you on. You guys, you got this. It's gonna be okay.